Hello everyone, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Nana, and today I wanted to go through a lot of my board games. I made a video a little while ago about all of my Ticket to Ride games. It's a board game that I love so much, and I was like, okay, maybe I could do another gift guide of more board games that I own. So yeah, welcome. I hope that you will find some inspiration. Like, my overall theme for this would be like, what's a good game for 2 players, 3 players, 4 players and up? What's a beginner friendly game? What is a more strategic game? What's a faster game? And what is a longer game? And that kind of style. So I'll go through that when I'm talking about the board games. And hopefully you'll enjoy this video. So let's get started. Let's start with like a 2-player game that is somewhat easy to learn, but it is easy to get into, and it's Ticket to Ride. Like I said, I just love Ticket to Ride, so I could not include this board game in here. We have almost all of the Ticket to Ride games. Sorry, I'm so out of breath because I had to put all these board games out, but actually I do have more. So yes, I think we have a lot of them. So if you're like into like a fast game, you have the big city games that can be played from 2 to 4 players, I believe. Easy to learn, fast. It's so good when you're like traveling, going on a ferry or something. Great game for that. But yeah, if you want to know more about all of the Ticket to Ride games, you can go watch my previous video. I would just recommend this game so much, because there's so many different versions and it's just great. You have this map, and then you have your trains, and then you have some destination tickets. And you have to see if you're like able to build your destination tickets. So you have to go from A to C or something like that to connect 2 cities. And sometimes other people are destroying that path you were thinking you were going. And in each of the expansions, there are like different rules and some additional things that happens on the board, and it's great. We are usually just the 2 of us, so Ticket to Ride is just such an easy game to go to, and we can pick a game that would like fit our mood for that night because we have so many of them. Some of them are really competitive and some of them are more easygoing, so that it depends on what mood you are in. But anyways, I love this game so much. When you're playing this with 3 players, it's also a great game. That's when it gets a bit more competitive because of the rules when you're playing it with 3 players. And then 4 or 5 players is also a great game. You have to wait a little bit longer when you're like playing 4 or 5 players. So if you're not into the waiting time, it's not that bad in Ticket to Ride actually. But if you're not into that, then it will be there when you're playing it with 4 or 5 players. But yeah, anyways, great game. Love this so much. And we just got the newest expansion. This is absolutely amazing. It's called Iberia. And you have South Korea on the back, which is also really, really fun. And in this game, you are getting 6 destination tickets in the beginning, and then you have to pick one and give it to the person sitting next to you. And then you do this for 6 rounds, and then you end up with 6 tickets and you have to pick 4. And that rule is great. And then you do that later on in the game as well. So funny. I love it. This is such a great expansion, and all the people we have played this with, which means my parents and my husband's mom, they love it too. So this is a great expansion. I just wanted to say that. But anyways, that's enough about Ticket to Ride. Let's move on. Okay, I just want to do a last mention of the Ticket to Ride games, and that is Ticket to Ride First Journey, because if you're looking for a game for your children that you also find a little bit more fun than just your usual games, I think this game is great for that, and then your kids will learn Ticket to Ride eventually. So I just want to mention that. Okay, let's move on with another game that I also think is really great for 2 players, and that is Carcassonne. I love Carcassonne. This is also one of my favorite games. It's a drawing pile game. Is that how you say? You're drawing a pile, and and you have to make that fit somewhere on the table to the rest of the piles. And with each pile you can do different things. You can put a meeple on it, you can do other things, and we have all of the expansions. I believe that there are like 8 expansions for this game, and we have all of them. And with each expansion that you're playing, the more complicated this game will get, because you can do so many different things, and it's great. It's absolutely great. If you're playing it with all of the expansions at the same time, this game takes, I would say, 3 hours, something like that. I love longer games. For some people that's a bit too much, so you don't have to play with all of the expansions at the same time. And you can just like pick and choose. Okay, these 2 expansions would go quite nice together, and if we are more in the mood for more competitive games, we might want to pick these expansions. And if we are not, I mean, you gotta take care of your relationship, right? But if we are not, and we can like feel like I'm a bad loser today, then obviously we do not pick the more competitive expansions. But it's such a great game, and it is a bit more strategic than Ticket to Ride, and it's a bit more complicated. There are more rules to it, so it's also a bit more difficult to introduce to people that are not that used to board games. You can still do it. We have done it, and sometimes with success. They were like, we love this, and then they went out and bought them themselves. And other times you can just tell that they are like, are we over? Are we done soon? So it depends. But if you do like board games, I think you would love this game as well. And if you're only 2 players, this is so great for that. It works really well with 3 players as well. I think you can play this up to 6 players. But I would say when you are playing this game with 4 players and more, the waiting that you have to do before it's your turn again gets a little bit long. I mean, it works fine with 4 players, but I would say 5 players and up, that's too much for this game. Like, I do not have the patience for that. But if you do, that's fine. I just don't. Okay, and another great game for 2 players is, where is it? 7 Wonders Duel. And this game is made for 2 players. There is the original 7 Wonders. I'll get to that in a little while. But they made this dual version as well. And it works really, really well. You can really feel the thoughtfulness that they put into this game. We have the 2 expansions as well. And the expansions works really, really well. But you don't need them for making this game fun. I would say you do need some expansions for the Carcassonne game to make that really fun. But you do not need the expansions to make this game fun. But I love expansions. And this game takes inspirations from the 7 Wonders, from ancient times. And you are building this pyramid with cards, and then you start from the bottom. And then I would choose a card, then my partner would choose a card, and then I would choose a card, and then you're opening up to the top. And each card will give you some extra abilities or some extra resources that will help you further in this game. So you have to be like, okay, what card would suit me the best? And there are different ways of winning this game. So sometimes your tactic will be like, I'm gonna solely focus on this tactic. That could be like a military tactic. But sometimes it's also too obvious for a partner, and then, yeah, you really have to think a lot to be like, okay, what would be the greatest game to win this game? And it's really funny, not beginner friendly. If you are playing this with someone who is not usually playing board games, I don't think this would be a funny experience, because there are too many rules. But if you are 2 players that do enjoy board games, you don't have to be a board game nerd or anything. It's not that complicated, but I just think you have to overall enjoy board games and not just something that you do once or twice a year, if you know what I mean. And I do have a last game for like 2 players that are really beginner friendly, and that would be Codenames Duet. This one is, yeah, like I said, really beginner friendly. You're playing this with 25 cards on the table, and on each card there's a word. And then you have this card right here on a card holder, and you can see one side and your partner can see the other side. And then you have to make your partner guess some of the words out here on the table, and the partner has to make you guess as well. And you have to connect the words. So for example, on the back here you have volcano and earthquake. And if you're lucky, maybe those are the two words that you have to make your partner guess. So you would say a natural disaster. Okay, maybe it could be volcano and earthquake, but sometimes there can be other words that would be similar to these, and it can get more tricky and difficult, and it's funny. It's really beginner friendly, so I would recommend that. Okay, a game for 3 players and up. Again, Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne, love them. 7 Wonders is also really great, and what is really, really great about 7 Wonders is that on each turn, you are all doing your thing. So it's not like a person has a turn, you know, like you're just all doing your thing at the same time, and then you go to the next round. That works really well. So this game is from 3 players up to 7 players, and you can't really tell the difference with like, you know, the waiting time, as I talked about before. Love that about this game. It's, again, I wouldn't say beginner friendly, and that's a little bit of a problem for us because usually it's just us. My daughter has cerebral palsy, and life isn't that easy. Sometimes, what I wanted to say is that we don't really have that many to play this with. And sometimes we are seeing people every 6 months, and you have to play it a little bit more often for it to be fun, you know, because if we have to explain them the rules each time, and it takes the joy out of it a little bit. So that's our situation right now. But if you have someone that would play this game with you a bit more consistently, I think this game would be so fun for that. Whereas Ticket to Ride may work a little bit better if you're playing with someone every 2 months, 6 months, whatever. This one takes a little bit more time to really get into it. That's just what I wanted to say. But the concept of this game is fantastic. Yeah, let's move on to like the party games, which is a category that I love myself. It's just not something that we play anymore. Anyways, I think we will go back to that at some point, but let's start with werewolves. I don't have the night version. I think that works a little bit better than this version, but this is such a funny game as well. Each player, I think this works with like 5 players and up, and then each player are getting a character, and some of them are going to be the werewolves, and they're going to be the bad guys, and the werewolves are on one team, and then the rest of the players are on another team. And then you are like going through the night, and everyone is closing their eyes, and then you are saying, okay, now the werewolves can look, and they are like, okay, so we are on the same team, and we are gonna the other people. So their role is to make the other people in the room think that they are not the werewolves and they are on their team. And the other players' role are to figure out who the werewolves are. And some of the good players have some, what's it called, abilities as well. So for example, when you're going through the night, you're like, okay, now the seer can look. And then the seer will look at what the character is right next to them, or something like that. And it's all about lying. It's all about, for example, if you're the werewolf, you can be like, I was the seer and I saw that person was this, and you know, it's so funny. I think most people are loving this game so much. But I have played it with some of my friends, and they were like, I got too nervous. That was too much for me. But most people are like, this is so funny, and everyone is just so into it, you know. I love these kinds of games. I'm hoping that someday we will be able to play these games again. Avalon is quite similar. It's also this role-playing thing, and each person are getting a character, and you have the bad guys and the good guys, and it's just different abilities that the characters have. That's the big difference between those two games. So funny. Love it. It's great. It's great. Another game that's a little bit similar to the other two games is Bang, the dice game. You also get a character in this game, and you have the bad guys and the good guys. They're just dices. Do you say dices or dice? I don't know how to say that word in plural. Anyways, and you have some arrows, and there are some different rules to this, but it works really well again. So yeah, it's in the same category, I would say. Really funny. Then on to something a little bit different, Exploding Kittens. So funny. There are a couple of expansions, and we have that as well, which just makes it even more funny. But if you're playing this without the expansions, just the original, it's also beginner friendly, I would say. So a great game for that as well. You are starting with a set of cards in your hand, and it's about not getting the exploding kittens, but on each turn you have to draw a card from the pile, and it could be the exploding kitten, it could not. And then all the cards you have on your hand gives you different resources and abilities to do stuff with other people in the game. When you're getting more into this game, the expansions makes it really funny as well. So yeah, this is also just great for vacation, you know, really great for that. It doesn't take up much space, and you have a lot of fun. Another great game for like a party is Cards Against Humanity. I think most people have seen this around. I have it in Danish, but I believe it's called Cards Against Humanity in English. This is a game where you have like a lot of cards in your hand with words on them, and then there's this card on the table where with a sentence, and then you have to put in some funny words in that sentence, and then the one who picks the funniest wins that round. That is basically the game. It can be a little bit naughty. I would say if you're like overly conservative, this is not going to be your game at all. But if you're not, it's fun. It is. Has it aged well? I have no idea, actually. I don't think it's... Is it offensive? I don't know. Anyways, it's really funny as well. Would definitely recommend that. So that was me going through some of my board games. We have many more. But yeah, I have to stop at some point. But anyways, I hope that you find some inspiration, and that I'll see you in another video. So you take care. Bye.